Hello, welcome to Paxton Presbyterian Church in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. My name is Norman Daniels and I'm the chair of the Paxton Historical Committee. We, over the next weeks, will be providing short vignettes of some of the artifacts and places that we have here at Historic Paxton. So let's begin. At the turn of the 20th century, there is a Sunday school movement that swept the country, and it arrived here at Paxton. And in 1905, the Boyd family donated money to build a Sunday school chapel. And in order to build it, they cut a hole through the original structure of our sanctuary right here. This was a window. And so they came in through here, through this hallway. And this area now, in this hallway, is part of our archives room. Over here is a restroom. This was an original restroom, the 1905 restroom. Now there are heat ducts and everything in there. And we will talk about some of these things in later programs. But if you follow me, this hallway moved this way. There's thought that this at one time was a telephone booth that people could use in the very early 20th century. And this hallway moved into what we call today the parlor. This parlor was used as a session meeting room. And you can see this beautiful fireplace, and I've been here in the past where that fireplace is burning. It makes this a very beautiful room. And it was in here from the early 20th century till around 1930 that this was used. As we look in here, we can see that it's oak. We see some pictures that we have here. Here we have a very idealized picture of what it looked like in the colonial times in our sanctuary. It never really looked like that, but it looks nice and it gives a flavor of the time. And from here, we have, let's see, this connects into the Sunday school room. So this, and the Sundays, yeah. And so this is the entranceway, the connection between the 1740 sanctuary building and the 1905 Sunday school. This is the outside of the chapel building. It says the new chapel, and the man that's in the picture was one of our early sextons. And this was intended to be a copy of colonial architecture, and it used the same kind of limestone as in the original 1740 sanctuary building. Its purpose was to complement rather than overshadow the original church. It had a wide center hall that went through to what is now our present-day library. It stopped where our current great room begins. And this was dedicated in July 30th, 1905. Now, if we look right here, we have James Boyd and Louisa Boyd. They donated the money for this. And our church has been blessed over the years with what I call angels, people who step forward to help our church, such as the Boyds, who actually donated all the money to build this structure to help our church grow. Now, what I'd like to do is sort of give you an idea of what it was like here. So right here we have the center hall, the remnant of the center hall. And the center hall moved along this way and actually went right. This has all been changed and added, but the center hall went all the way down this way. And there was a very large Sunday school room right in here. It's called the Boyd Room in honor of the Boyds. And further back, we had another Sunday school, which in recent years was used as a kindergarten room. On this side, we had a nursery, and there was a kitchen, a library, and a pantry. And that went all the way back through. And if we follow this, and I don't know if you can follow me or not, but if this hallway was straight, now with the renovation, it comes through this way. And if we go all the way back here past the current church office, to this point here, where you see this is the original wall. This would have been the back of the Sunday school room. So it would have gone all the way over there. So it was a big rectangular building. And the next, we're going to go back into the archives, and we'll show you some interesting artifacts we have there. This is the original communion service for Paxton Church. Now, I'm going to ask you a question, and that is, I will tell you that one of these is a reproduction. So I'm going to give you a moment to see which one you think is a reproduction, and then I'll tell you. Now, as we look at these, we have two large plates, the communion plates. They were called chargers. They're very, very heavy. In fact, they used this communion service up to 1892. And then they stopped, and one reason being that each of these plates is about 10 pounds. So I'm going to put this plate down first. And you can see, if you just look at that, this one was actually made between 1771 and 1801 by Townsend and Griffin in London. And it is about 10 pounds. Its companion piece over here was made between 1760 and 1770. It has had repairs, and I don't know if that shows to you or not, but if I hold this up, you can see down at the 6 o'clock position inside, there is a repair that looks like a piece broke out for some reason. We have also 4 two-handled goblets. And these were made by William Will in Philadelphia at circa 1764 to 1798. And under those goblets, we have 4 plates. They do have marks on the back. And these plates were made in Philadelphia as well, probably 1780 to 1800. Now, the reproduction is this. This pitcher was made in the 1920s or 1930s. I assume because they did not have one and they wanted to show what one looked like. But this is not original. Now, to me, one of the most interesting things is these little stamped either pewter or lead chips. These, I'm going to put this down. These chips were given out, and when you went to a communion preparatory service, you would get one of these chips. And they are marked either BP or BD. And that stands for Reverend Bertram Derry or Reverend Bertram Paxton. And he was the minister here from 1732 to 1736. So these are that old. We have 96 of them. And when you went to the preparatory service, you were given one of these that you had to keep with you. And then on Communion Sunday, there would be an elder standing next to the minister, and you would have to give him this token. And that indicates that you had prepared to take the elements of communion. And if you did not have one of these, you did not get communion. They were very, very stringent about that. And I just find that very interesting. And there is no truth to the rumor that BP does not stand for Bad Presbyterian. It is rather Bertram Paxton. Before me you see a bench. This bench was used at Paxton Church from 1847 to 1888. And in fact, on the back, there's a card attached that reads, "This balcony pew was placed in Paxton Church in 1847 and removed in 1888. J.Q.A. Rutherford purchased it when it was removed. Arthur P. Rutherford refinished it and gave it to the church." In our collection of bulletins, which we have bulletins basically continuously back to 1924, there's a reference to this bench in September 24th, 1950. And it said, in part, "The old original balcony pew, which was on display at our anniversary, was used in the days when slaves occupied balcony seats during worship services." In 1847, the sanctuary interior was gutted and new pews were ordered. This was one of them. The new pews were straight, they were wooden, they were high-backed, they were painted white with mahogany rail. They were reported by one person who lived at that time to be, quote, "fearful to sit in." So imagine a several-hour service sitting in this. I cannot. In 1887 and 1888, everything was torn out and new pews were installed. And it's interesting to note, according to the card, that it was used by slaves. Paxton did have slave-owning families here, and they also had abolitionists and members of the Underground Railroad. I'm sure that made for interesting discussions. 4 known former slaves are buried in our churchyard: George Washington, George and Lucy Lorette, and Dinah. In 1865, the Paxton trustees recorded in their book that a lot of ground 100 feet by 50 in the northwest corner of the church property be set apart as a burying ground for all strangers dying in the employment of members or contributors of the congregation. The term strangers was a term used for former slaves, indentured servants, or servants. It is possible that there are others buried in or around our churchyard in unmarked graves. So if the story is accurate, it is possible that George Washington, the Lorettes, or Dinah, or others may have used this bench. This bench helps us to recognize that while some parts of human history is uncomfortable or even horrific, this is a touchstone to help strengthen our resolve to continue to be better people. I'm Norman Daniels from Paxton Church. I invite you to look at our website at paxtonchurch.org. Besides finding out about our history and programs, you may also find a link to church services, or you're welcome to join our live streaming service at 10:15 every Sunday. God bless you.